Alright, continuing our Osha reading. Osha fact sheet. Working safely with electricity. Working with electricity can be dangerous to engineers, linemen, electricians, other workers. Electrically, directly on overhead lines, cable harnesses with the circuit, some of the other office workspace. Salespeople while working electrically indirectly may be also exposed to electrical hazards. Alright, generators. One of the most common tools utilized found with lots of power. Portable generators. Most generators are gasoline powered, used with internal combustion engines to produce electricity with the carbon monoxide, colorless, odorless gas produced during the operation of gasoline power generators. Inhale with the gas to reduce your ability to utilize oxygen. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning includes the headache, nausea, tiredness, leads to the unconsciousness, ultimately prove fatal. Do not bring generator indoors. Be sure it's in a located outdoors location where the exhaustive gases can enter the home of the building. With ventilation is key. Be sure the main circuit breaker is off, locked out with the prior to starting any generator. This prevent advertent energization power lines from back feeding electrically energy from generators. Help protect the utility line workers from possible electrocution. Turn generators off. Let them cool prior to refueling. Power lines. Overhead buried power lines, especially hazardous because they carry extremely high voltage, fatal electrocution mains if the heat burns and falls, also hazards. Local or overhead power lines, buried power lines, indicators stay at least 10 feet away from the overhead power lines. Assume for the de-energized ground lines while working near them. Use non-conductive wood or fiberglass ladders when working near power lines. Extension cords. Normal wear and cords can loosen and expose the wires. Cords used not 3-wire type note designed with a hard used and even modified to increase the risk of the coding electrical current. Using only equipment approved to meet the OSHA standards. Do not modify cords. Use them incorrectly. Use factory assembly cords have the only extension cords cover the 3-wire type. Use only cord connection device fittings that are equipped to restrain and relieve move cords and receptacles pulling on the plugs and not the cords. Equipment. Due to the dynamic, rugged nature of the construction, normal use of the electrical equipment cover the wear and tears of the result. Insulation breaks and shortcuts expose wires. If there are no ground fault protection, it can cause ground fault that sends the current through the working of the body. The ground fault circuit interrupters on the 120 volt single phase 15-20 ampere receptacles have assured the equipment and grounding conductor program. All double insulated tools, equipment and distinct with and marked visually inspect all electrical equipment before and use removing the surface of any of the equipment, the frayed cords, missing ground prongs, and cracked tool casing, etc. Electrical incidents. The power supply with electrical equipment is not grounded, but the path has been broken or fault. The current with the may travel through the worker's body with causing electrical burns or death, even when the power system is properly controlled. Ground electrical equipment can instantly change with the safe the hazards because of the extreme condition and rough treatment. Visually inspect electrical equipment before you've taken the defective equipment out of the ground. All power supplies and system, electrical circuits, electrical equipment. Frequently inspect electrical systems and ensure the fault over the ground is continuous. Do not remove the ground plugs for the core and the plug connected with equipment with extension cord. The double insulated tools ground all exposed metal parts of the equipment and avoiding standing in the wetting areas when using portable electrical power tools. Alright, working safely around down electrical wires. Electrical hazards exist sometimes for nearly all occupants. However, those hazards mostly multiply. Workers have them clean up the recovery efforts following the major disasters, whether emergency or in particular life-threatening danger exists around down long-hanging electrical lines. Safety first. Above elsewhere, always consider all the equipment line conductors to be energized. Be cautious if notice down wires, damage electrical equipment, to contact appropriate utility personnel. Remember, these circuits do not always turn off when the power line falls into a tree onto the ground. Even if they're not sparking or humming, fallen power lines can kill you and they can touch even the ground nearby. Energy. Down wires can energize the other objects, including fences, water pipes, bushes, trees, buildings, telephones, CATVs, fiber optic cables, other electrical utilities. Even manhole castings, reinforcement, rebar, pavement can become energizing down wires. During storms and wind-blown objects with the canopies, aluminum roofs, siding sheds can also be energized down wires. Or backfeed. Electrical conductors advertently with energized other structures. Energy source backfeed occurs. Some of the precautions include circuit ties, switch points, lightning generators, downstream events. Simply testing energy source not sufficient for the hazard electrical events. If they're happening without warning, ensure the proper lockout tagout procedure is always followed. Alright, rules to live by. Do not assume that the down conductor is safe because simply it is on the ground or is not sparking. Not assume that all coated weatherproof insulated wire is just telephone, television, fiber optic cable. Low-hanging wire is still voltage potential even if they're not touching the ground, so it doesn't touch them. Even the energized to be tested for the de-energized. Never go near down fallen electric power line. Always assume the energized and touching it can be fatal. Electricity can be separated outward through the ground in circular shape from the point of contact. As you move away from the center, the larger difference of the voltage can be created. Never drive only over down power lines. Assume that they are energized, and even if they are, down lines can come entangled in your equipment or on your vehicle. If contact is made with the energized power line while you're in your vehicle, remain calm. Do not get out unless the vehicle is on fire. If possible, call for help. If you must exist, the equipment is because of the fire or other safety reasons. Try to jump completely clear, making sure that you do not touch the equipment on the ground. At the same time, land with both feet together and shuffle away in small steps. Minimize the path of electrical current. Avoid electrical shock. Be careful with maintaining your balance. Osha fact sheet: electrical safety hazards, overloading cable trays. According to 2005, the National Electrical Code, a cable tray is a system of a unit assembly unit with the section associated fittings from the structural system and the safety securely fastened support cable and raceways. Cable trays support with a cable across the span of the chamber man over the roadway bridges support traffic. Cable trays are not raceways and are treated as a structural component of the facility with the electrical system. Cable trays are part of the planned cable management system to support route, protect pathway, and cable system. Cable trays feature the flexible, unmatched conduit as a cable to either mark or remove the defined in the cable tray. But the cable trays are available in a number of the different configurations, including the ladder, ventilated throw, ventilated channel, solid bottom wire mesh, single rail, other similar structure. The manufacturer in steel, aluminum, fiber, reinforced plastic. Although aluminum accounts about 70% of the cable trays used in the industry today. Overloading cable tray. The cable trays comes in a wide variety of the sizes depending on the direct number of the side of the conductor intended to allow for the flow of the area associated with the National Electrical Code. Also, since cable trays are other flexible, the modification expansion engineers and design should plan in cable tray with the system size designed to anticipate both future and needs. Her cable tray fill is addressed in 2005 National Edition, Section 3092, 8, 9, 10, and 12. The type of the cable tray with the solid ventilated, the ampacity requirement, the type of the voltage rating of the cable used to determine the allowable fill of each of the cable tray. Ventilation cable tray provided with the greatest allowing fill due to the increased airflow. Generic guideline provided by the Cable Tray Institute indicate that the cable tray should not be filled exceeding 40 to 50% of the inside air with a tray with a maximum weight based on the cable tray specification. The National Electrical Code provides specifically more detailed requirements of the cable tray. In case the best strategy is to review and follow the rules set out with the National Electrical Code, the manufacturer installation guidelines when installing cables into the cables in the cable tray. Alright, hazards associated overload cable trays. Overloading and properly securing wire with the cable tray with the number of the screw the head with the issue with the cable tray with the associated support with the array with a specific site, specific the maximum width of the base partially over the allowable to fill area with the spacing on the cable, the tray support with the overlaid cable trays, with the breakdown of the tray with the connection points of the support with the causing head of the personnel underneath the cable tray, even leading to the possible electrical shock and arc flash and blast events from the component failure when the cable is suddenly no longer supported. Additional cables in the tray could be damaged with improper securing with installing other cabled wires from the same cable tray. National Electrical Code requirements of the cable tray fill also consider the heat buildup of the conductors while with the current flow of the cable trays overload with excess of the heat buildup of the round with live conductors can cover the insulation and breakdown leading to the potential shock of the hazard and fire. The fire can occur either in the cable tray which provided the fire path and combustible material near the cable tray. Further improper use of flexible cord could lead to spread or toxic flame and fumes and fire where to occur. Grounding cable trays is essential for the personal protection against arcing and occurring wiring system. Proper grounding must be done before cables are installed with the test before cables may be energized. Additionally, the general requirement of metal cable trays supplementing importing electrical conductors must electrically continuously effectively bond as part of the requirements of the 2005 National Electrical Code 3927. Recognizing overloaded cable trays. Recognizing overloaded cable trays is not defective or difficult to fill. Values of the cable tray specified in the 2005 National Electric Code range. Single layer tray, roughly 50% of the cross-sectional area of the cable tray with a visual observation reveals cable tray completely full or overflowing cables. Chances of the cable tray with a violation both of the National Electrical Code. OSHA requirements. One of the major culprits associated with the overload cable. The abandoned cables will be the tray, but the abandoned cables should be removed. In fact, Section 593D, various sections, Chapter 8, 2005 National Electric Code specifically require removal and abandoning temporary wiring, communication cable installed on the cable tray. Wiring methods permitted with the cable tray. The wiring method of the cable tray must be lived with the national recognized testing and laboratory suitable for the cable tray of the environment of which is installed on the table 392.3a of the National Electric Code, OSHA 1910-305A, 31. Provide the corresponding list of the ducted raceway permitted with the cable tray system. Additional National Electric Code Section 392.3b, OSHA Standard 1910-305A, 31b, allowing the specific conductor and establishment, industrial and real establishment maintenance, supervision, assurance with the qualified personnel, services with the cable tray system. Flexible cords are not currently listed. For use with the cable tray, the National Electric Code, Article 400, OSHA 1910-305G, as they are prohibited the replacement, fixing, wiring over the structure of the installation of the flexible cords can break down and become brittle over the years, which can lead to shorts and fires containing toxic fumes. Alright, standard regulations apply with the cable trays. Cable trays first covered in the 1965 edition of the National Electric Code. Continuous rigid cable support. The use of the installation cable tray with the cover in the Article 392 National Electric Code and OSHA Regulation Title 29 CFR 1910-305A3, 1910-399. Comparable to standard regulated with the state with operating with the OSHA approved state plans, shales, specifically permanent use of the cable tray with the cover in the 2005 edition of the National Electric Code 392.3, OSHA 1910-305A31, and not permitted to drive within the National Electric Code 392.4, OSHA 1910-305A32, other section and article of the National Electric Code and company code reference throughout the Article 392. Specific installation uses. National Electrical Manufacturer Associations also public 3 standard apply with the proper manufacturer installation of the cable trays. ANSCI NEMA VE 198 and we have metal cable trays. NEMA VE 2 1996 metal cable trays installation guidelines. NEMA FG 1998 non-metallic cable tray system. For more information, there's National Electric Code OSHA 29-1910 Cable Tray Institute and Cable Tray Manufacturer Installation Use and Instructions. Alright, OSHA Quick Card respirators. Protect yourself. Respirator protection must be worn whenever you're working with a hazardous atmosphere. Appropriate the respirator depending on the contamination when you are exposed with the protective factor of the required respirator. National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health approved before medical evaluation training must be provided before use. Single strap dust mask are used but not National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health approved. They must not be used to protect hazardous atmosphere. However, they may be used to providing comfort from pollen and other allergens. Approved filtering face pieces. Dust mask cover the dust mask. Welding fumes do not provide protection from gases and fumes. Do not use from asbestos or lead. Instead, selecting from respirator below. Your high face respirator can be used for protecting the most vapors and gases, dust, and welding fumes. Cartridges, filters must be matched, contaminated, drained periodically. Your full face respirator protected with the full half face respirator can be used for the protection of almost vapors, gas and welding fumes. Faces protects face, eyes, and irritant contaminants. Cartridge filters must be the contaminant as be changed periodically. Then they have loose-fitting powered air purifying respirator. Other breathing comfort with a battery-powered fan which pulls air through the filter. Air cart circulates through the helmet hood. Worn by workers who have beards. Cartridge filters must be matched with contaminants and be changed periodically. Self-contained breathing apparatus used in the tree with escape of the atmosphere. Consider immediate dangers for the limited life and health or oxygen deficiency in their own use air tank. Okay, OSHA facts sheet. Respiratory infection controls, respirator versus surgical mask. It's important employers work with you to understand the significant difference between the two types of the personal protective equipment. The decision whether or not to require whether the works of the surgical mask or the respirator must be based based on hazard analysis of the worker, specific work environment, the different protective properties of each type of the personal protective equipment. The use of surgical masks respirator with one particular practice for the reduce the risk of infectious disease transmission between the infected and the non-infected person, since there are limited historical information on the effectiveness of the surgical mask respiratory with the control of the influenza during the previous pandemic. The effectiveness of the surgical mask for the respiratory have been infected inferior with the basis of the mode of the influenza transmission particle side of the professional and the development. To offer protection, both surgical mask and respirators worn with correctly, consistently, properly surgically masked. The respirators have the role of preventing different types of exposure during the influenza pandemic. The surgical mask with the respirator need to be used in conjunction with intervention with known to prevent the spread of the infection, such as the engineering and administrative controls installed with the guards and telling working with the working practice with the call of adequate hand hygiene and avoiding large gatherings. Respirators. Respirators are designed to reduce the workers' exposure to the airborne contaminant. The respirator come with a various size of the most individually selected the fit of the wearer's face. Wearer's face to provide a tight seal with a proper shield between the user's face of the respirator. Forces of the inhaled air to be pulled through the respirator and filter material not to be with the gaps between the face and the respirator. Respirators often work best protection from the workers. The most commonly work with either in the contact within 6 feet who have influenza-like systems. These generally include the workers who work in the occupation classified very high exposure rate, risk to pandemic influenza for additional very high exposure occupations. Refer to Osha publication number 3327 against and preparing workplace influenza pandemics, and then the website. Where workers are required to employers respirator, they should know of the national industry of the occupational safe health and certified selective and use in contact for the comprehensive respirator protection program. It's important medically to evaluate the workers to ensure that they can perform work tasks, and wearing a respirator for the morning workers' medical evaluation may be accomplished having the physician and other licensed healthcare provider review. Respirators are complete with the work over the Appendix C with the OSHA respirator work protection standard 29/1910-134. Determine the worker can be medically cleared to use the respirator. The employers will have never been before needed to consider the respirator plan protection. Knows that the can take time to cover the appropriate respirator to provide workers range with qualified training, provide the training, fitting of the training, testing, medical evaluation for the workers. If the employees wait until an influenza epidemic occurs, they may be unable to implement any adequate respiratory protection program in a timely manner. Our surgical masks. The surgical masks are used with the physical barrier of the protective used for the hazards such as the splashes, large droplets of blood or body fluids. Surgical masks may also protect with people against the infection of the person wearing the surgical mask, such as the mask trap. Large particles of the body filter fluids through the contained bacteria, the virus expelled with the wear. Surgical masks are used in several different purposes, including the following places on stick people to limit the spread of the infectious respiratory secretions to the other. Worn by healthcare to prevent accidental contamination by the other patient's wounds and organisms normally present in the mucus and saliva. Worn by workers to protect themselves with a splash of spray with the body and bodily fluids. They may also contaminate fingers and hands, also move the mouth and nose. Surgical masks are not designed certified to prevent inhalation of small airborne contaminants. These particles are not visible to the naked eye, but still capable of causing infection. Surgical masks are not designed to sealed tightly against the user's face. During inhalation, much of the potential contaminated air can pass through the gaps between the face and the surgical mask, not being pulled through the filter material of the mask. The ability of the filter, small particle varies significantly based on the type of the material used to make the surgical mask, such that they can be relied upon to protect the workers against airborne infectious agents. Only surgical masks are cleared by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to be legally marketed in the United States and have been tested for their ability to resist blood and bodily fluids. Alright, your pneumatic nail gun, OSHA Quick Card Safety. Nail guns drive nails stapled in building material with injury of the facilities can result in improper use. Operator co-workers are at risk. Eyes and hands and fingers are especially at risk. Nails can splinter, blow the fragments of the material, puncture the back of the material, fire completely through the material and strike workers behind the nailing surface. Pose contact hazards such as nail striking electrical wire. Common tool types. Sequential tools require nose workpiece contact to the depressed before the trigger is pulled. Two-step sequence because it's accidental firing less likely. Can be used for most nailing tasks. Contact tools, tool firing any type of the trigger, noose and workpiece contact contact. Both the press trigger can be held down, allowing bumping fire using nails on a flat surface. Caution: if the trigger is depressed, the tool will fire anytime the nose is depressed. Also causes unwarranted double firing of the nails. Your safe work practice personal protective equipment. Follow manufacturer's tool table to operating manual. Wear safety glasses, side shield, and never defeat and modify safety shield. Modify safety features. Keep fingers away from the finger trigger. Driving nails. Sequential tools with a reduced risk. Accidental double firing. Avoid line of fire heads over the beyond material. Position yourself, especially with the free hand of the line of the fire. Never point nail gun anyone. Watch for co-workers beyond the mailing surface. Disconnect the gun to perform maintenance, move it to another work area, and clear the jams. Train safe operation procedures, properly based body placement, and correct personal protective equipment. Know the tool must meet applicable Osha guardrail standards. And then it's in Spanish. Alright, quick card, chainsaw safety. Operating a chainsaw can be hazardous. Potential injuries minimized using personal protective equipment and equipment safety operation procedures. Before starting a chainsaw, check the control chain tension and all the bolts and handles to ensure that they are functioning properly, that they may be adjusted according with the manufacturing instruction. Make sure the chain is always sharp and that the oil tank is full. Start the saw on the ground, another firm support. Drop starting is never allowed. Start the saw at least 10 feet from the fueling area with the chain's brake engaged. Fueling a chainsaw. Use the proof containers for the transportation fuel and the saw that dispense the fuel at least 10 feet away from the source of the ignition. Performing construction activities, no smoking during fueling. Using funnel and flexible hose before pour the fuel into the saw. Never attempt to fuel a running or hot saw. Chainsaw safety. Clean away dirt, debris, small tree limbs, rocks from the small saw chain path. Look for nail spikes and other metal in the tree before cutting. Shut off the saw with the engaged chain brake with the carrying of the saw with the rough and the uneven terrain. Keep your hand saw handles. Maintain balance while operating saw. Personal protective equipment must be worn when operating the saw. Includes hand, foot, leg, and the eye, face, and hard head protection. Do not wear loose-fitting clothing. Be careful the trunk and the tree limbs will not bind against the saw. Watch the branches under the tension that they may spring out and when cut. Gasoline provided chainsaws must be equipped with a protective device. Minimize the chainsaw kickback. Be cautious of saw of the kickback. Avoid kickback. Do not saw with the tip of the tip guard in place. And it's in Spanish. It shows a cold stress equation, low temperatures, wind speeds, wetness, injuries, and illnesses, frostbite. What happens to a body in freezing deep layers of skin and tissue? Pale, waxy white skin color. Skin becomes hard and numb. Usually affects the fingers and hands and toes and feet and ears and nose. Alright, what should be done? Move the person to a warm, dry area and do not leave the person alone. Remove any wet or tight clothing that may be cut off the blood flow of the affected area. Do not rub the affected area because the rubbing causes the damage to the skin and tissue. Gently place the affected area in a warm water bath of 105 degrees. Monitor the water temperature to slowly warm the tissue. Do not pour warm water directly on the affected area because it will warm the tissue too fast, causing tissue damage. Warming takes about 25 to 40 minutes. Alright, also effective if the area has been warmed, it may become puffy and blistered. Effective with the burning feeling, numbness, normal feeling, movement, and skin color have returned. The affected area should be dried and wrapped to keep it warm. Note, if the chance of affected area may get cold again, do not warm the skin. If the skin is warmed and then gets cold again, it causes severe tissue damage. Seek medical attention as soon as possible. Alright, hypothermia. Medical emergency. What happens to the body? The body temperature over the 98.6 degrees drops below the 95. Fatigue and drowsiness for the uncovered shivering, cooled, blush skin, slurred speech, clumsy movements, irritable irritation, confused behavior. What should be done when land temperatures call for the emergency for help? Move the person into the warm air, dry air. Do not leave the person alone. Remove any wet clothing. Replace the warm, dry clothing. Wrap around the person with blankets. Have the person drink warm, sweet drinks, sugar water, sports type drinks. If they are alert. Avoid drinks with caffeine, coffee, tea, hot chocolate, and or alcohol. Have the person in their arms and legs and create muscle heat. When they're unable to do this, warm bottles and hot packs over the armpits, groin, neck, and head areas. Do not rub the person's body in place with a warm water bath. This might be stop the heart. What should be done when water temperatures call for emergency? Body heat lost up to 25 times faster in water. Do not move clothing, button, buckle, zip of the tighten awning, collars, cuff the shoe for the hides. Because layer and draft, the water closet over the body provides layer insulation, slows loss heat, keep the head out of the water, and put on the hat or hood. Get out of the water quickly as possible. Climb anything floating. Do not attempt to swim unless the floating object and either person can be reached, because swimming and the other physical activity due to the body heat reduce the survival time about 50%. If getting out of the water is not possible, was quietly conserve the heating of the folding arms across the chest, keeping the thighs together, bending the knees and crossing the ankles. If you need a person in the water, huddle together with the chest held closely. Alright, how to protect workers. Recognize the environmental workplace conditions lead to the potential cold-induced illnesses. Injury lead, learn the signs and symptoms of cold-induced illness and injuries. What to do with the help of the worker. Train the workforce. Cold-induced illnesses and injuries. Select proper clothing in the cold windy conditions. Layer clothing could adjust the changing environmental temperature with the hand and gloves. Wear hat and gloves. Additional underwear that will keep warm from away from the skin. Propylene. Take short breaks in the warm, dry shelters. Allow the body to warm. Perform work during the warmest part of the day. Avoid exhaustion fatigue because energy is needed to keep the muscles warm. Use body system. Work in pairs. Drink water, sweet beverages, sugar water, sports drink type. Avoid drinks with caffeine in it or alcohol. Eat warm, high-calorie foods and hot pasta dishes. Workers are increased risk when they have disposing health conditions such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and hypertension. They take certain medication. Check with the doctor or nurse or the pharmacy after the medication taken away from the cold environment. They are in poor physical condition, have poor diet, and are older. And that completes the OSHA reading of the PDH class on OSHA construction, demolition, cleanup, safety issues.